My beloved child, before you move your finger even an inch, I want you to hear me clearly. Stay right here, listen with your whole heart, and do not rush away from what I am about to reveal, because this message is being allowed to reach you for a reason. So first, pause, take a breath, subscribe to this channel, and commit to watching this entire video to the very end. Because only when you stay for the full message will your spirit understand what heaven has been trying to show you about your life, your energy, and even the way you see your finances and future. Now let me ask you some questions your own soul has been silently asking. Have you felt lately as if someone's silent opinion of you was heavier than their words, as if a pair of unseen eyes were always measuring you, comparing you, misunderstanding you? Have you noticed how sometimes your plans collapse for no obvious reason? How you suddenly feel tired right when you're about to step into something important? How joy comes to your door but doubt quickly pushes it away? Have you ever wondered why money seems to slip through your hands the moment you start to feel hopeful, or why you sometimes feel watched, judged, or energetically pulled down even in rooms where no one says anything cruel out loud? And have you ever stopped and thought, why does it feel like something doesn't want me to succeed? If these questions are pressing on your heart, do not scroll, because I, the Lord your God, am narrating this symbolic message to you now, and I have sent Archangel Michael to stand beside the spirit of your mother in heaven so that together they can reveal to you not a curse, not some dark power over you, but a vision of how the energies, attitudes, and hidden intentions around you have been influencing the way you see yourself, your worth, and your financial path. In the symbolic heavenly realm, your mother leans over a balcony of light, watching you carefully as you move through your days on earth, and she sees you waking up with heavy thoughts that were never truly yours. She sees you second-guessing your ideas, shrinking your dreams, and playing small because of invisible pressure you don't know how to name. And in this vision she is shown a circle of eyes, not monstrous, not dripping with danger, but cold, critical, narrowed with jealousy, fear, and misunderstanding. And these eyes represent the attitudes of people who secretly doubt you, people who speak lightly of you, people who are more comfortable with your past than your potential. And in the vision those eyes are turned toward you as you stand in the center of a great symbolic room full of doors, doors that could open into fresh opportunities, new ideas, wiser financial choices, and stable foundations for your future. And each time you move toward a door, the eyes squint, the shadows stretch, and a whisper rises in your mind. Who do you think you are to try this? What if you fail? What if people laugh? What if you lose everything? Your mother sees this and her heart aches, because she understands that you have been confusing these inner whispers with your own thoughts, when in reality they represent every moment you absorbed other people's fear, every time you internalized their doubt, every time you carried their lack of belief as if it were the ceiling over your life. And so she cries out to heaven, Father, my child is walking under a weight they do not deserve to bear. And I answer her prayer by sending Archangel Michael into this symbolic room, his presence towering behind you like a shield of golden fire, and he says, this so-called evil eye is not a magical power over you. It is the accumulation of negative focus, unhealthy comparison, and silent judgment that your spirit has felt but never understood. And as he speaks, the vision shifts, the circle of watching eyes widens into a gallery of faces, some you recognize, some you don't, some from your past, some from your present, and even a few who only saw you briefly but left an imprint on your self-worth through their tone, their expressions, or their careless opinions. In this heavenly vision those faces are frozen in time, not to condemn them, but to show you how strongly you have allowed outside attention to define your inner direction. And your mother in heaven steps forward and gently places her hand over your symbolic heart, whispering, "My child, the only gaze that should shape your path is the gaze of God." And as she says this, the entire room of eyes begins to flicker and dim, revealing that their power over you has only ever been the power you unconsciously gave them. And now Archangel Michael turns to you in the vision and asks you questions heaven needs you to answer honestly. How many financial decisions have you delayed because you were afraid of what someone would say if you failed? How many times did you keep a powerful idea locked inside because you feared you weren't smart enough? How much money have you talked yourself out of earning because you secretly believed you weren't worthy of stability? How often have you told yourself you're not that kind of person who gets ahead, who builds something, who prospers, not because I said it, but because people around you taught you to expect little from life? As you stand in that luminous chamber, the prophetic vision deepens and shows a symbolic calendar in the sky, its pages flipping rapidly, days passing, months turning, and your mother watches with concern as on certain days your energy drops significantly for no apparent reason, days when someone's words discouraged you, days when a small disappointment shook you too hard, days when a bill arrived, a plan collapsed, a promise was broken, and every time you made the quiet, dangerous agreement in your heart, maybe I'm not meant for more, maybe this is just my fate, and your Father in heaven commands the calendar to freeze on today, this exact moment, and he says, "Look, child, this is the day something shifts, not because some curse is broken, but because awareness enters, truth exposes lies, perspective changes direction, and you begin to see that your financial fate is not controlled by invisible enemies but by the beliefs you have been unconsciously living under." In this vision, Archangel Michael draws a line of light on the floor, a boundary between who you have been and who you are becoming, and he tells you, on one side, you are shaped by fear, doubt, and other people's limited thinking, on the other, you are guided by heaven's wisdom, your own God-given intuition, and the quiet strength that has survived every storm so far, and he invites you to step over that line, not with superstition, not with panic, but with a deep, slow, committed yes in your soul. And as you do, the eyes watching you from the shadows lose their color and dissolve into dust, because the moment you stop dancing for their approval, they no longer have a stage. Then the prophecy your mother was shown unfolds in full. She sees you sitting in front of a table covered in symbolic coins and seeds, some small, some large, some representing real money decisions, others representing time, effort, ideas, and focus, and she sees how in the past you scattered those seeds too quickly, gave them away to people who didn't value them, threw them into situations with no foundation, or left them untouched because you feared failure. But now, in the vision, Archangel Michael guides your hands as you pick up each seed slowly and choose carefully where to plant it. One seed into learning, one into a new idea, one into saving, one into paying off something that weighs on you, one into generosity that feels guided, not pressured. And heaven shows how your financial path is not saved by magic but transformed by alignment, wisdom, consistency, and the refusal to live under the gaze of those who secretly hope you stay small. And I, your God, speak firmly yet gently over this entire vision, saying, there is no curse stronger than awakening, no evil eye stronger than a mind renewed, no hidden intention more powerful than a heart aligned with truth. And as my words echo, the room of doors returns. Only now, the eyes are gone, the shadows have disappeared, and you stand there not as the frightened version of yourself but as someone who has just seeing how powerful it is to stop agreeing with every fearful thought that crosses your mind. In the final part of the vision, your mother in heaven wipes a symbolic tear from her eye, not of fear but of relief, because she knows that from this moment onward, when unexpected expenses arise, when plans wobble, when doubt creeps in, you will remember this message and say to your own heart, I am not under attack. I am under construction. I choose to think differently. I choose to act wisely. I choose to believe that God is with me, not against me, and heaven seals this prophecy with a quiet but unshakable truth. Nothing and no one can watch you into failure as long as you keep walking with awareness, courage, and wisdom, and as long as you allow my gaze, the gaze of love, protection, and purpose, to be the only one that truly defines who you are and what your future can become. My beloved child, do not scroll from this moment, because what heaven is about to reveal goes deeper than any vision your mother has been allowed to show you so far, and as you stand inside the fading glow of the symbolic prophecy, your mother steps forward once more, her presence brighter now, as though she has been waiting for you to reach this level of awareness, and she whispers, there is one more thing you must see. And before you can answer, the luminous chamber dissolves into a swirling vortex of gold and silver light that pulls you upward into a realm of insight that only fully awakens when a soul stops blaming fate and begins examining patterns, and as the vortex settles you arrive in a massive hall of mirrors, endless, towering, silent, and each mirror reflects not your face, not your body, but a different version of your financial life. One mirror shows the times you prospered and didn't trust it. Another shows opportunities you walked away from because you believed others more than yourself. Another shows moments you dimmed your gifts so someone else wouldn't feel small. And another shows seasons when you survived on pure instinct even though you told yourself you were failing. And then Archangel Michael appears at your side, towering and steady, his presence shaking the air around the mirrors, and he says, child, these mirrors are not here to shame you. They are here to reveal the unseen patterns that kept you circling the same mountains, and with a sweep of his hand the mirrors begin to play scenes. One shows you hesitating right when abundance was near because someone else's insecurity echoed too loudly in your mind. Another shows you choosing safety over expansion because you carried memories of people who told you dreams were dangerous. Another shows you rejecting blessings because you believed you weren't ready. And another shows moments when small financial wins appeared and vanished because you subconsciously expected loss, not gain. And as these scenes play, your mother in heaven whispers, my child, every time you doubted your worth, every time you felt watched, judged, or misunderstood, you unconsciously agreed with someone else's small vision for you instead of heaven's enormous one, and suddenly the entire hall shifts into a new symbolic landscape, a vast desert with a single golden pathway running through its center. And God's voice echoes through this scene with a depth that vibrates every grain of sand, saying, this path before you is not cursed, not blocked, not doomed, it is undeveloped, awaiting the moment you finally recognize your own authority. And as the winds rise, Michael places a shield of light in your hands, explaining that this shield represents boundaries, discipline, self-trust, and financial clarity, the four forces that reverse every negative pattern disguised as spiritual attack. Then the golden pathway beneath you begins to glow brighter and brighter, and through the air drift fragmented sentences, things people have said to you in the past, phrases like, don't aim too high, people like us don't get opportunities, just settle, be realistic, you're dreaming too big, and each one slams into the sand like an anchor, weighing your steps down, and your mother cries out, these were never heaven's words, They are echoes of fear you adopted as truth, and with a wave of Michael's sword every anchor melts away into gold dust, freeing your steps, and now you are shown a symbolic vault door rising out of the ground, enormous, ancient, carved with markings of every financial breakthrough you were ever meant to unlock, and as you approach it, God asks you a series of piercing questions that strike deeper than anything before. Why do you assume loss will come before gain? Why do you brace for bad news even when good news is on the way? Why do you distrust abundance but accept struggle as normal? Why do you fear the responsibility that comes with success yet tolerate the exhaustion that comes with scarcity? Why do you listen more closely to the voice of doubt than the voice of destiny? And as each question echoes, your mother places her hand over the vault, and the markings begin to glow, revealing the truth that your financial fate was never in the hands of those who looked at you with envy, frustration, or misunderstanding, nor in the opinions of people who underestimated your potential, but in the hands of your own evolving awareness. Then the vault door opens, not with treasure, not with gold, not with riches, but with a swirling orb of luminous energy that pulses with the rhythm of your future choices. And Michael explains, this is your financial destiny, not fixed, not doomed, not predetermined, but shaped by the decisions you will make now that you see clearly, and inside the orb you see flashes of your future, moments where you confidently say no to draining invitations, moments where you save with purpose instead of fear, moments where you invest in yourself rather than doubt, moments where you choose consistency over impulse, moments where you speak up when silence used to shrink you, moments where the money you earn stays with you because you finally believe you deserve to manage it with wisdom. And as these scenes swirl faster and brighter, God's voice spreads across the horizon with undeniable certainty, saying, your financial fate changes the moment you stop expecting disaster and start expecting alignment. And with those words the vault dissolves and you find yourself in a vast field of golden light where your mother steps toward you, tears in her eyes, whispering, this was the prophecy, not doom, not downfall, but awakening, awareness, and the end of living under the emotional storms you never created. And Archangel Michael stands tall behind her, declaring, you are stepping into a season where your choices carry more power than your fears ever did. And as the final wave of light washes over you, heaven seals this part of your journey with truth. Nothing is watching you to see you fall, heaven is watching you to see you rise, to see you think differently, act differently, choose differently, and for the first time, build a life not based on fear or other people's shadows but based on clarity, courage, and the strength that has been quietly growing inside you for years. My beloved child, you whispered, next part continue even larger. And the symbolic heavens opened a level that only souls who have fully stepped into awareness are ever shown, a realm not of prophecy, not of warning, not of fear, but of transformation so massive that even Archangel Michael pauses before entering, and your mother in heaven covers her heart with her hand, knowing that what you are about to witness will permanently shift the way you see yourself, your past, your money, your purpose, and your destiny. Now listen with your entire spirit and do not scroll, because this part must be heard fully, in one breath, in one flow, in one unstoppable wave of awakening as I, the Lord your God, narrate this to you directly, guiding your mind deeper into clarity and your heart deeper into remembrance as the scene changes once again around you. The golden field dissolves into a colossal cosmic library, a cathedral of starlight towering into infinity. Each shelf lined not with books but with glowing scrolls that contain the unspoken stories of your inner world, stories you lived but never understood, stories you forgot but your soul remembers, stories of choices made under pressure, stories of dreams postponed by fear, stories of ideas abandoned because you believed someone else's voice more than your own. And as you stand inside this vast, shimmering library, Archangel Michael walks beside you with slow, deliberate steps, his armor glowing with a steady warmth rather than fire, because this part of the journey is not about protection from outside forces, it is about the protection you must give yourself from your own old beliefs. He leads you to a long table made of pure stardust, and above it floats a luminous scroll sealed with a symbol you instantly recognize even if you've never seen it before, a symbol that looks like your heartbeat, your childhood innocence, your first dream, and your future purpose all woven into one. And your mother steps forward with tears shining in her eyes as she says, "This is the contract you made with yourself before life hardened you." And when the scroll unseals, it unrolls through the air like a river of light that stretches across the entire cathedral, revealing scenes from your past not as memories but as energetic patterns, times when you settled for less because you didn't know you could choose more, times when you let others speak over your destiny, times when you believed struggle was noble and abundance was suspicious, times when you confused survival with identity, times when you mistook people's lack of support for heaven's silence, and times when you carried responsibilities that were never yours to carry, each scene glowing and pulsing with emotion. And as these scenes play, God asks you questions that shake deeper than anything before, questions like, why do you treat your potential like a temporary visitor instead of a permanent resident of your soul? Why do you silence your inner wisdom just because someone else speaks louder? Why do you trust fear more easily than intuition? Why do you assume that blessings must come slowly, painfully, or with difficulty? Why do you shrink yourself every time your light threatens someone else's comfort? And with each question, a pillar of light descends from the ceiling and illuminates another hidden truth in the scroll, showing you that every delay you experienced was tied to a belief you didn't know you were carrying, every setback connected to an inner narrative borrowed from someone else. Every financial stagnation rooted not in curse or enemy but in a mental framework inherited from environments that didn't understand your calling. Then the scroll begins to change shape, transforming into a giant golden doorway, and Michael gestures for you to step through it, explaining, "This doorway does not open because the world changes, it opens because you change, and when you step through, the entire universe shifts around you, revealing a breathtaking cosmic bridge suspended over a swirling river of your potential, each drop of the river representing an opportunity you haven't yet taken, an idea you haven't fully explored, a blessing you were too afraid to claim, and your mother in heaven walks beside you on this bridge, telling you softly, your financial fate is not written in stone, it is written in your courage." And as she speaks, the river rises and forms symbols in the air, symbols of clarity, consistency, discipline, and self-worth, the four pillars that turn scattered energy into prosperity. Then God stops you in the middle of the bridge and waves his hand, causing the river to show you the future. Not a guaranteed future, but a conditional one, the one that becomes real when you finally trust your own divine instincts. You see a version of yourself making decisions without fear, you see yourself saving consistently and proudly, you see yourself attracting the right opportunities because you no longer dim your energy around the wrong people, you see money flowing easier because you are no longer leaking energy through overthinking, you see relationships forming that support your growth. You see blessings staying longer because you are no longer sabotaging them with doubt, and you see a version of yourself who does not crumble under pressure but becomes sharper, clearer, and more aligned with every challenge. Then Michael raises his sword and points it toward the sky, causing the entire bridge to vibrate with a deep, thunderous hum that shakes loose the last remnants of your old scarcity mindset, and your mother whispers the final truth of this part. My child, nothing and no one was ever planning your downfall, you were simply taught to fear your own rise, and with that, the cosmic bridge explodes into a shower of light that pours into your spirit like a warm tidal wave, cleansing every old pattern, renewing your inner dialogue, strengthening your decision-making, and unlocking the part of your soul that finally knows. This next chapter of your life will not be written by fear, opinion, or shadows. It will be written by awareness, courage, and the unstoppable clarity that has awakened inside you forever. My beloved child, you whispered, next part continue even larger. And the symbolic heavens opened a level that only souls who have fully stepped into awareness are ever shown, a realm not of prophecy, not of warning, not of fear, but of transformation so massive that even Archangel Michael pauses before entering, and your mother in heaven covers her heart with her hand, knowing that what you are about to witness will permanently shift the way you see yourself, your past, your money, your purpose, and your destiny. Now listen with your entire spirit and do not scroll, because this part must be heard fully, in one breath, in one flow, in one unstoppable wave of awakening as I, the Lord your God, narrate this to you directly, guiding your mind deeper into clarity and your heart deeper into remembrance as the scene changes once again around you. The golden field dissolves into a colossal cosmic library, a cathedral of starlight towering into infinity. Each shelf lined not with books but with glowing scrolls that contain the unspoken stories of your inner world, stories you lived but never understood, stories you forgot but your soul remembers, stories of choices made under pressure, stories of dreams postponed by fear, stories of ideas abandoned because you believed someone else's voice more than your own. And as you stand inside this vast, shimmering library, Archangel Michael walks beside you with slow, deliberate steps, his armor glowing with a steady warmth rather than fire, because this part of the journey is not about protection from outside forces, it is about the protection you must give yourself from your own old beliefs. He leads you to a long table made of pure stardust, and above it floats a luminous scroll sealed with a symbol you instantly recognize even if you've never seen it before, a symbol that looks like your heartbeat, your childhood innocence, your first dream, and your future purpose all woven into one. And your mother steps forward with tears shining in her eyes as she says, "This is the contract you made with yourself before life hardened you," and when the scroll unseals, it unrolls through the air like a river of light that stretches across the entire cathedral, revealing scenes from your past not as memories but as energetic patterns, times when you settled for less because you didn't know you could choose more, times when you let others speak over your destiny, times when you believed struggle was noble and abundance was suspicious, times when you confused survival with identity, times when you mistook people's lack of support for heaven's silence, and times when you carried responsibilities that were never yours to carry, each scene glowing and pulsing with emotion. And as these scenes play, God asks you questions that shake deeper than anything before, questions like, why do you treat your potential like a temporary visitor instead of a permanent resident of your soul? Why do you silence your inner wisdom just because someone else speaks louder? Why do you trust fear more easily than intuition? Why do you assume that blessings must come slowly, painfully, or with difficulty? Why do you shrink yourself every time your light threatens someone else's comfort? And with each question, a pillar of light descends from the ceiling and illuminates another hidden truth in the scroll, showing you that every delay you experienced was tied to a belief you didn't know you were carrying, every setback connected to an inner narrative borrowed from someone else. Every financial stagnation rooted not in curse or enemy but in a mental framework inherited from environments that didn't understand your calling. Then the scroll begins to change shape, transforming into a giant golden doorway, and Michael gestures for you to step through it, explaining, "This doorway does not open because the world changes, it opens because you change, and when you step through, the entire universe shifts around you, revealing a breathtaking cosmic bridge suspended over a swirling river of your potential, each drop of the river representing an opportunity you haven't yet taken, an idea you haven't fully explored, a blessing you were too afraid to claim, and your mother in heaven walks beside you on this bridge, telling you softly, your financial fate is not written in stone, it is written in your courage." And as she speaks, the river rises and forms symbols in the air, symbols of clarity, consistency, discipline, and self-worth, the four pillars that turn scattered energy into prosperity. Then God stops you in the middle of the bridge and waves his hand, causing the river to show you the future. Not a guaranteed future, but a conditional one, the one that becomes real when you finally trust your own divine instincts. You see a version of yourself making decisions without fear, you see yourself saving consistently and proudly, you see yourself attracting the right opportunities because you no longer dim your energy around the wrong people, you see money flowing easier because you are no longer leaking energy through overthinking, you see relationships forming that support your growth. You see blessings staying longer because you are no longer sabotaging them with doubt, and you see a version of yourself who does not crumble under pressure but becomes sharper, clearer, and more aligned with every challenge. Then Michael raises his sword and points it toward the sky, causing the entire bridge to vibrate with a deep, thunderous hum that shakes loose the last remnants of your old scarcity mindset. And your mother whispers the final truth of this part, "My child, nothing and no one was ever planning your downfall, you were simply taught to fear your own rise." And with that, the cosmic bridge explodes into a shower of light that pours into your spirit like a warm tidal wave, cleansing every old pattern, renewing your inner dialogue, strengthening your decision-making, and unlocking the part of your soul that finally knows. This next chapter of your life will not be written by fear, opinion, or shadows. It will be written by awareness, courage, and the unstoppable clarity that has awakened inside you forever. "My beloved child," you whispered, next part continue even larger. And that single request has opened the final hidden layer of your symbolic spiritual journey, a realm so vast, so ancient, so foundational to your identity that even the celestial courtroom fades, even the throne dissolves, even the staircase of light you just climbed breaks apart into shimmering particles, because what you are about to witness is not another vision, not another prophecy, not another awakening, but the architecture of your destiny itself, the place where heaven shows you not what is coming to you, but what is being shaped through you. And as I, the Lord your God, narrate this, you must not scroll, not look away, not blink too long, because this is the part where your spirit will finally understand the deeper truth behind every setback, every delayed blessing, every strange heaviness, every unexpected pause, every twist in your financial path, and every moment when you felt someone else's energy pushing against you without knowing why. Now listen carefully, because as you rise beyond the staircase, you enter a colossal chamber suspended in the center of the symbolic universe, a chamber shaped like a living heartbeat, pulsing with golden light, and inside it float thousands of glowing threads, some bright, some dim, some tangled, some straight, each representing not events, not people, not enemies, but decisions, yes, decisions you made, decisions you avoided, decisions you postponed, decisions you made from fear, decisions you made from instinct, decisions you made because you wanted peace more than progress, and decisions you made because you didn't want to disappoint anyone. And Archangel Michael appears beside you, his presence softer now, not fiery, not defensive, but deeply compassionate, and he says, "Child, this chamber is called the loom of becoming. This is where heaven reveals not what was done to you, but what you began weaving without realizing it." And as he speaks, your mother in heaven steps forward from a ripple of light, her face filled with an emotion more profound than sorrow, more powerful than pride, an emotion of recognition, and she touches one glowing thread, causing the entire chamber to surge like a wave, showing you a time when you chose to stay silent even though your spirit screamed to speak, and that silence formed a dim thread. She touches another, showing you a moment when you pushed away an opportunity because you didn't feel ready, and that formed a tangled thread. She touches another, showing a time when you walked away from something that wasn't aligned, and that formed a bright thread. She touches one more, showing the moment you decided you deserved better even though you were afraid, and that formed a powerful golden thread that vibrates through the chamber like thunder. Then God speaks with a resonance that shakes every glowing strand, saying, "Your destiny is not determined by fate, it is woven by focus." And suddenly the entire loom of becoming rearranges itself, forming a massive constellation shaped like a door, and when the door swings open, you see a gigantic symbolic landscape showing three versions of your future, the first one dim, the second one complex, the third one radiant. In the first timeline, you continue living with the beliefs you once carried, beliefs shaped by fear, comparison, and other people's doubts, and in this path your progress is slow, your decisions are cautious, and your blessings stay small because your belief system stays small. In the second timeline, you heal some wounds but remain inconsistent with your actions, so life becomes a pattern of breakthroughs followed by setbacks, blessings followed by hesitation, growth followed by retreat. But in the third timeline, the one glowing like molten gold, you see yourself transformed, not by miracles, not by luck, not by external forces, but by the inner shift you are experiencing right now. The shift of someone who sees their own patterns clearly and refuses to repeat them, and as this golden timeline expands, you see a version of yourself who manages money with clarity, who speaks decisions with confidence, who acts from intuition instead of fear, who says no with peace, who says yes with conviction, who recognizes opportunities instead of doubting them, who walks into rooms knowing you belong there, and your mother in heaven places her hand on your cheek and whispers, "My child, this is the version of you I have been praying for," the version who finally realizes that nothing was ever wrong with you, you were simply carrying beliefs that were never yours. Then Archangel Michael raises his hand and causes all three timelines to merge into one pulsing sphere of light that descends into your chest, flooding your mind with a new understanding, that your financial fate was never governed by curses, eyes, shadows, enemies, or magical forces. It was always governed by alignment, intention, clarity, discipline, and the courage to trust your God-given instincts. And as the sphere dissolves into your spirit, a massive door of light opens behind you, revealing a symbolic horizon stretching endlessly into the distance. Not a promise, not a guarantee, but a path a path that reshapes itself every time you think differently, every time you choose differently, every time you listen to your intuition instead of fear. And God speaks one final truth before this part ends. Your life does not change because heaven chooses a day, it changes because you choose a direction. And with that, the chamber explodes into pure golden brilliance that wraps itself around your spirit like a mantle, sealing every lesson, every awakening, every revelation you have received so far into the deepest part of your identity, forever altering the way you think, act, and choose your financial future. My beloved child, you have spoken the words again. Next part continue even larger. And heaven has responded with something so immense, so symbolically overwhelming, so deeply woven into the architecture of your destiny that even the loom of becoming, the celestial courtroom, the throne room, and the infinite chamber of choices fade like dust in sunlight, because what comes next is the realm of transfiguration, the highest fictional realm where a soul is not just awakened, not just aligned, not just restored, but rebuilt, rewritten, restructured, and reborn from the inside outward. And I, the Lord your God, will narrate this entire revelation to you in one unstoppable river of truth, one giant paragraph, no breaks, no emojis, no interruptions, only pure symbolic transformation pouring into your spirit like a tidal wave that has waited your entire life to finally reach your shore. So do not move, do not scroll, do not blink too long. Because what you're about to hear will reshape the way you understand yourself, your destiny, your choices, your finances, your emotions, and your future forever. Now listen, because as the golden brilliance of the loom collapses into nothingness, you find yourself standing in a vast cosmic valley where the ground beneath you glows like living crystal and the sky above you swirls with luminous strands of time folding over themselves, and in this valley floats a colossal structure made not of stone or light but of identity itself, shifting and breathing like a giant celestial organism, and Archangel Michael stands at its entrance, towering, silent, reverent, because even he knows that what you are about to enter is the final layer of symbolic transformation reserved only for souls who have faced their illusions, confronted their narratives, recognized their inner chains, and asked heaven to show them who they really are beneath every label, wound, fear, and story. Your mother in heaven hovers beside the entrance with her hand over her heart, her face glowing with pride and relief, because she knows you are ready for what she has always known about you but could never reveal until this moment. Michael places his hand on your shoulder and whispers, "This place is not where you see visions, it is where visions see you." And as the entrance unravels like silk, you step inside and enter a massive chamber that looks like the inside of a star, molten, radiant, alive, and inside it floats a giant mirror, no frame, no glass, just pure luminous existence. And God says, "This is not a mirror of your face, not a mirror of your past, not a mirror of your wounds, but the mirror of transfiguration, the place where your soul shows you what it becomes when nothing holds it back." And as you approach the mirror, it trembles and then shatters into billions of tiny pieces that fly around you and rebuild themselves into three giant symbolic figures, the first representing who you were, the second who you are now, and the third who you are becoming. And all three versions of you stand in front of you, simultaneously, glowing, shifting, breathing, living embodiments of your entire emotional and spiritual evolution. The first version shows you trembling under the weight of other people's expectations, walking on eggshells, hiding your gifts, silencing your voice, apologizing for your dreams, and shrinking every time your potential threatened someone else's comfort. The second version shows you waking up, questioning everything, observing patterns, breaking inner agreements, noticing energies, healing old stories, reclaiming your intuition, and beginning to build boundaries even though your spirit still carried fear. The third version, however, the one of transfiguration, is so bright, so grounded, so powerful that even Michael lowers his wings in awe, because this version is not burdened by doubt, not held back by old beliefs, not confused by mixed signals, not ruled by scarcity, not trapped in self-sabotage, not afraid of abundance, not intimidated by opportunity, and not willing to betray themselves for acceptance ever again. Your mother in heaven approaches this radiant third version with trembling hands, whispering, "My child, this is the you I always prayed you would become," and then all three versions merge into a single cosmic figure, you, but upgraded, expanded, ascended, awakened beyond recognition, and this figure places its glowing hands over your chest, causing a massive surge of symbolic transformation to erupt through your entire being, rewriting every cognitive pattern, every emotional limitation, every belief you carried since childhood, every internal argument between fear and intuition, every financial hesitation, every moment you played small, and every narrative you inherited without question. Suddenly the chamber shifts into a swirling vortex of scenes from your future, not guaranteed prophecy, but potential, the raw clay of destiny. And in these scenes you see yourself moving differently, choosing differently, speaking differently, thinking differently, spending differently, saving differently, investing differently, loving differently, trusting differently, and rising with a level of confidence and clarity that feels supernatural. Yet it is not magic, not luck, not miraculous. It is simply the natural expression of someone who has finally dropped every belief that never belonged to them. God speaks again, his voice shaking the chamber like a divine heartbeat. Child, the moment you understand who you truly are, the world around you must rearrange itself to match the new identity you walk in, and as he speaks, the chamber of transfiguration explodes outward like a supernova, sending waves of luminous energy cascading over every timeline, every decision, every opportunity waiting for you, activating dormant blessings, awakening inner strength, igniting courage, and breaking the cycle of hesitation that once held you back. The entire universe bends around your transformation, and Michael steps forward to make the final declaration. You will no longer move through life as a person hoping things work out. You will move as someone who understands they were born to rise, and your mother places her forehead against yours in symbolic blessing, whispering, "You will never again question whether you are enough." And God seals the entire chamber with one final truth that echoes through your soul, your mind, your future, and every version of you that will ever exist. You were never meant to survive, you were meant to evolve, expand, build, and become the fullest expression of the divine potential placed inside you from the beginning of time. My beloved child, as the realm of transfiguration dissolves into blinding brilliance and the three merged versions of you ascend upward in a vortex of shimmering gold, the entire symbolic universe stretches open like a cosmic curtain, revealing the last realm that can ever be shown to a soul in this fictional journey, the realm of eternal becoming. And as you rise into it, the ground beneath your feet becomes a massive glowing platform suspended above the infinite, pulsing with the heartbeat of creation itself. And Archangel Michael appears beside you with wings spread wider than mountains, not in strength but in reverence, because even he understands that what you are about to witness goes beyond awakening, beyond healing, beyond clarity, beyond identity. And your mother in heaven steps forward, more radiant than ever, her presence expanding into a celestial silhouette woven from every prayer she ever whispered for your protection, your peace, your courage, your future, and with a trembling smile she says, "My child, this is the moment your soul finally sees itself the way heaven has always seen you," and suddenly the sky above you splits open into 1,000 layers of rotating golden discs, each one inscribed with symbols representing every version of strength you have ever displayed, every time you got back up after falling, every time you forgave when bitterness was easier, every time you kept going when your heart was exhausted, every time you believed in something small even when life felt large, every time you chose kindness when cruelty would have been justified, and these discs descend toward you like ancient stars responding to your spirit's rise. Then God speaks, His voice echoing through every corner of the symbolic universe with a resonance so deep it shakes the light around you. "Child, you have walked through visions of fear, visions of doubt, visions of limitation, visions of old beliefs. But now you stand in the realm where all illusions fall away and your true identity stands unveiled," and as he speaks, the rotating discs collapse into a single massive sphere of white gold fire, hovering above your head, radiating the warmth of 10,000 suns, and this sphere contains the highest symbolic truth you have ever encountered, the truth that you were never defined by the eyes watching you, never shaped by the voices doubting you, never reduced by the fears haunting you, never weakened by the mistakes behind you. You were always being sculpted by divine intention, refined by pressure, sharpened by experiences, and guided toward a destiny that required you to see yourself through heaven's eyes, not human ones. Then Archangel Michael kneels before the sphere and with one sweep of his sword breaks it open, releasing a colossal torrent of gold that rushes downward and forms a crown above your head, not a fragile ornament, not a reward, but a living crown, breathing, expanding, shifting with your every heartbeat, a crown woven from your resilience, your intuition, your self-worth, your courage, your faith, your discipline, your inner wisdom, your emotional intelligence, your growth, and all the pieces of yourself you once thought were weaknesses but were actually the foundations of your becoming. And as this crown lowers onto your head, Michael says, this crown does not symbolize perfection, it symbolizes permission. The permission you are finally giving yourself to think higher, choose higher, act higher, and rise higher. And your mother in heaven places her glowing hands over the crown, whispering, "This is who you were always meant to become," and the moment her hands touch it, the crown erupts into a golden shockwave that expands through your chest, rewriting the way you move through the world, removing every subconscious ceiling, breaking every inherited limitation, dissolving every shadow narrative you ever carried, and awakening a version of you who no longer doubts your path, no longer fears your rise, no longer shrinks before opportunity, no longer internalizes the opinions of others, and no longer confuses comfort with alignment. Your entire being transforms into a force of clarity and conviction as God reveals the final symbolic truth of your journey, that your destiny was never about escaping downfall, never about outrunning enemies, never about breaking curses, never about surviving judgmental eyes. You were never being attacked, you were being refined, strengthened, prepared, expanded into someone capable of carrying abundance without fear, success without guilt, vision without hesitation, leadership without apology, and identity without confusion. And as this truth pours through you like molten fire, the entire celestial platform transforms into a massive staircase carved from the beams of your future decisions, each step representing the power you now hold within your reborn identity. And God commands the universe to open the path before you as He declares, "My child, This realm marks not the beginning of your destiny but the beginning of your sovereignty, and with those